Welcome back, Midnight Readers. We are going to be jumping right back into Confusion in a Small Town. Where we left off was Josh, the MC's boyfriend, is out of town. Her roommates have talked her into going out and having a night out on the town. She had been feeling a little disappointed because she heard Derek was back in town and she had been having a moment of weakness and was going to go see him and then discovered that he had left already. So she is feeling a little confused because she still has very strong feelings for him, but she knows there's nothing there because she's with Josh and Derek is gone again. He's been gone for a year. He came back for a day and is gone again. So they're going to go out clubbing. They get to the club and they're ordering the first round of drinks and somebody whispers in her ear, "You look beautiful." She turns around, she sees a sea of unfamiliar faces, and then a little bit later sees somebody staring at her from the VIP level. And the lights are too bright, they're flashing. She can't make out who it is, but she knows that this person's staring. And she's staring back, trying to see through the lighting. When the lighting changes, one of her roommates whispers something in her ear, and she looks up and she realizes who it is up there. So that's where we're at. Yeah, here we go. Without further ado, let's jump right into this. Oh my god, I realized what my roommate had been trying to tell me. It was Derek. He was still here. Just then, someone grabbed me, spun me around, and pulled me in tightly. So tightly that I could barely move. I pushed him back and yelled, "What the hell?" "Whoa, calm down, babe. I was just trying to surprise you," Josh said. "Josh? What are you doing here?" I questioned while desperately trying to turn back around to see if Derek was still up there. Josh said something, but I wasn't sure what, so I acted as though I hadn't heard him. Well, I actually really hadn't. We danced for a while, and I finally got him to turn so I could see the lounge level over his shoulder. Derek was still there, watching. I couldn't look away. Just then, a business-looking lady walked up to him and put her hand on his shoulder. He turned and walked away with her. I was surprised to feel the surge of jealousy that ran through me. If Josh hadn't been there, I'm not sure what I would have done, but I could say for sure that by the end of the night, I would have tried my best to get his attention back. "Potty break!" my roommates yelled as they pulled me away from Josh. Once in the bathroom, they flooded me with 1,000 questions. "I thought you said Derek had left. You had missed your chance to see him. Don't you think Josh is going to notice if you keep staring? Which one of them do you really want to be with?" Finally, I couldn't take the questions anymore. "I don't know," I blurted out. They just looked at me. "Wait, you don't know because you don't want to answer the questions? Or do you really not know which one you want to be with?" my roommate asked. "Doesn't matter. It's too late," I said, trying desperately to hold it together. "Okay, you need a drink, but remember, it's never too late," they said as they pulled me back out of the bathroom into the bar. I could see Josh further down the bar. His back was to me. As the girls ordered another round of drinks, I tried to nonchalantly glance up to where Derek had been. I could somewhat see him through the railing. He was sitting with her. She was pretty. Had a very businesslike look. I was happy for him, but it was too painful to watch anymore. I looked away. I noticed a girl who looked like she had just turned 21, with short blonde hair and an even shorter dress, talking to Josh. For some reason, it didn't seem to bother me. I'm not sure if it was because he didn't really look all that interested in her, or if there was another reason, subconsciously. Why were they both here right now, at the same time? One of my roommates went and grabbed Josh, and we all went back onto the dance floor. As we walked towards the floor, Josh said, "You're a bigger person than me." I knew he was referring to the girl who had been talking to him. We danced for a while longer, and I forced myself not to look up where Derek was. About a half hour had gone by when my roommate yelled to me, "Hey, let's go get some air really quick." Then she looked at Josh. "We'll be back in a couple of minutes," she said, continuing, making it very obvious that Josh was not invited to join us. We went outside. She seemed to be looking for something. "What's going on?" I asked. Nothing," she said, with the sort of smile that lets you know that the person you're talking to is lying, for sure. She pulled me by the hand as if to hurry me up. As we went around the corner of the club, I was both startled and embarrassed when we ran straight into a guy who was leaning on the wall. "Sorry," I said as I looked up at him. "Oh, I have to take this call," my roommate said as she hurried away. I stood there, just staring. He was so handsome. Dark hair, light eyes, tall, broad, toned shoulders. He took a step closer. I leaned in too. He put one hand on my waist and the other on the nape of my neck. I realized it had been him who had told me that I looked beautiful when we first got there. We just stood there like that, staring into each other's eyes. Then, as if there were a magnet between us, drawing us closer, our lips touched, and he kissed me. In that moment, I remember the feeling I had gotten the first time he had kissed me. The memories came flooding back. The day at the gym so long ago, our game of pool, watching movies together, and then the feeling I had just that morning when Jesse had told me that Derek had left. Just then, Derek stepped back. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I don't know what I was thinking. This was a mistake," he said as he walked out to the parking lot. I felt tears coming to my eyes. I didn't want to mess up my makeup and have to explain anything to anyone. Not tonight, anyway. I couldn't explain just how I was feeling. It was both the best and worst feeling in the world. Back in the club, all I could do was put on a fake smile and get lost in the music. Of course, as cruel fate would have it, the majority of the songs were perfectly fitting for my situation. "What happened out there?" my roommate whispered in my ear. "Nothing," I started to say when she continued. "I saw," she said with a wink. I knew she wouldn't tell. She had always secretly rooted for Derek. After that night, I couldn't help but think of Derek often. I was worried by certain comments that Josh made, and the way that he acted from time to time, that he knew. Maybe he didn't know exactly what had happened that night at the club, but he knew something was different. I texted Jessie about a month later. My intention was not to really text her, but I was doing so with hopes of her someday blabbing to Derek. I knew Jessie, and the one thing she couldn't do was keep a secret. The text read, "You know, when you told me that Derek had left, he hadn't. And something happened that really opened my eyes. Well, not really opened my eyes, but more reconfirmed what I'd been wondering for a while. Just wanted to see what you thought about that." Right away, she wrote back, "What are you saying? You just realized you're falling for my brother?" "No, that's not what I'm saying," I wrote back, not wanting to admit it. But then, why had I texted her in the first place if I wasn't ready to admit to her, let alone myself? So I sent a second text. "I'm not saying that I'm falling for him now. I fell for him a long time ago. I think I let circumstances affect my decisions. Please don't tell anyone." She wrote back, "Well, it's about time that you admit it. Wait, are you still with Josh?" "Yes," I wrote back. "Oh," she replied, and that was that. I didn't respond, and neither did she. We both knew that I could never have Derek in my life if Josh was in it. The only problem was that every time I pictured Derek in my life, I would immediately recall what Josh did, what happened so long ago, and immediately I'd feel guilty for having those thoughts. Then it hit me. Were guilt and worry a big part of why I had stayed with Josh for so long? No, it couldn't be. Could it? Ugh, what a mess. Who was I fooling? I knew deep down that my feelings truly were for Derek. But if I left Josh, there was always that risk of him doing something foolish, and I never wanted to be the cause of his pain. It would really hurt to lose him as a best friend, too. Then there was Derek, the guy whose last words to me were that kissing me was a mistake. We all know that he refused to answer any of my text messages these days. So, there was another risk of getting hurt. It would just be safer to stay with Josh. After thinking on it for a long while, I text Jessie again. "Do you know why your brother won't respond to my texts?" I was sure she was going to write something like, "Because you hurt him," or "he moved on." But rather, her response read, "Well, he's busy. Since he's finished all of his hours and is now officially a doctor, he has a lot on his plate. He's preparing for a move for work, and, well, you did break his heart after all." I couldn't bring myself to respond to her. I was happy that he was able to move on, become successful with his career, and be happy again. I knew then that I couldn't contact him and tell him how I felt. It really was too late. A week passed, and it was weighing on me. I told Josh that we needed to talk. He told me he knew. I explained that I loved him dearly. He was my best friend. Great looking and fun, when he was actually around. But right now, I needed some space for me. He nodded. He knew what I was trying to say. We stood there hugging on his back deck for a very long time. We cried, we laughed, and we finally kissed goodbye. We left with, "We're still going to hang out often, and we were seriously going to try to go back to being just friends, for now." He seemed to take it better than I expected. I was relieved. I guess I didn't have to worry about him after all. 2 weeks had passed, and we had hung out twice. It was a little hard, but we were getting the friend thing back down. The first time we hung out, we had gone to the gym and worked out, and then had dinner at his place. The second time, we had spent the day down by the bay. Now, it had been 3 days since I had seen him when I received a call at about 8 p.m. It was the hospital. Oh no, here we go again, I thought to myself. They said Josh had been in an accident. As I rushed there, I dreaded hearing what the doctor was going to tell me this time. I pulled up and sat in the parking lot. I recalled how scared I had been last time this had happened, yet, for some reason, I hadn't remembered feeling so uneasy, so nervous. Then I remembered. Derek had been there. It had to have been because of Derek. I finally got up the courage to go in. I told them that I was there for Josh. The nurse started to explain that Josh had been with a friend who had been driving. His friend was the one who had crashed, not Josh. Josh would be fine, but they had to perform surgery on his leg when he came in. He was now resting. Then, I heard a voice from behind the nurse. "I'll take this one," it said. "Okay, doctor," the nurse said as she walked away. Derek stepped forward. I was speechless. I opened my mouth to speak, but closed it again. I didn't know what to say, and felt a little awkward considering what had transpired the last time that we had seen each other. "Hey," he said. "Hi," I responded, still in shock. "You okay?" "Yep." He looked at me for a moment before speaking. "You know he's knocked out on pain meds right now, and visiting hours are just about over. I just got off my shift. We could go talk, if you want," he said. "Okay." I figured he was just going to talk about Josh, and I had no desire to do so. I felt like a schoolgirl with her first crush wanting to confess everything to him. And in turn, I wanted to know why he had come back without even so much as telling me. However, I figured it would be best to keep my mouth shut and just let him speak. I followed him to his truck. It was strange, yet invigorating, to see it parked in a reserved for doctors spot. We drove for a few minutes before he parked. He pulled up next to the cliffs, next to the bench we had sat on so long ago. He pulled the keys out and just sat there for a moment. "Come on," he said as he climbed out of the truck. He waited for me as I hopped out, and he held my hand, just like a gentleman, to help me down the stairs. I was a bit surprised when he didn't even bring Josh up. "Do you remember the last time that we were here?" "How could I forget?" "There was a lot I wanted to say to you back then. Should have said to you," he said. "There's a lot I want to say to you now," I said under my breath. "What?" he asked. "Nothing," I replied, feeling a bit silly. "Anyway, that was then," he continued. He was quiet for a second before saying, "Josh is going to be fine. You don't need to worry. He'll probably just need a little help getting around while he gets used to the crutches. And you'll just, need to be careful of his leg." "Okay," I replied without thinking. "Wait, why would I have to be careful with his leg?" I questioned. So it can heal?" he said. "Yeah, I get that. But why would I be anywhere near his leg or be in a situation where I need to be careful?" I questioned. "Hey, I don't know what you two do," he said as he looked away. "Oh, that's right. You wouldn't know since you chose to cut off all communication with me," I started to say when he interrupted. "What did you want me to do? Stay here and watch the girl that I was head over heels for be with another guy? I don't think he would have wanted that either. I really didn't have a choice, but to try to make the best of a difficult situation." "You always had a choice. You could have at least texted back," I responded angrily. "But I guess it was for the best that you did leave, and everything transpired as it did," I continued. It was quiet for a while before he spoke again. "You texted me once, and I could never bring myself to respond. What were you going to say?" "It doesn't matter now," I replied. "Sorry about what happened last time I saw you at the club," he said, changing the subject. "Yeah, I blame it on the alcohol," I said. "Yeah, I would too. I should have never kissed a girl who was in a relationship, but I hadn't been drinking that night." Unless you knew that girl was in a relationship with the wrong guy," I said with a little smile. "Don't you think it's a little messed up? If you were my girl, and I was lying in a hospital bed, and you were talking like this to some other guy, well, I'd be devastated to say the least," he said accusingly. "Oh, really? So that's what you think is going on here, huh?" I responded somewhat angrily, feeling insulted. That was, until I thought about it. I continued. "I guess you're right. That would be messed up for me to say that, if he were my man." "Oh, I didn't know. What happened? You left him for another man?" he said, trying to joke it off. "Actually, yes, but Josh doesn't know the other guy was the reason," I said. Derek's jaw dropped. Oh, wow, I was joking, but, I'm sure he's a lucky guy, he replied. I didn't say anything. How long have you been with him? He asked. Not sure how to respond, I simply said, It's complicated. The look on his face changed, and he stared out into the water. I knew this look. I had seen it years before. What's wrong? Huh? Oh, nothing. He said almost like I had startled him. Derek, why did you come back without even saying as much as hi? I asked, no longer able to hold it in. I came back because I didn't want to be. Well, really, more like couldn't be away any longer. And I didn't contact you because I thought that you were still with Josh. Truth be told, I still wasn't ready to deal with that yet, he responded. Wait, are you saying that you still have feelings for me? I asked a bit nervously. He looked at me and then back out towards the water. Of course I do. They don't just go away, he said, looking more upset now than he had a moment before. I knew this was my one chance, my last chance. It was my turn to put it out there, despite the overwhelming wave of nervousness that was flooding me. I put a hand on his. Derek, there's something I need to tell you, I said. As he turned to look at me, I did it. I went for it. I kissed him. It felt like the longest kiss in the world, but in the best way possible. All of a sudden, he pulled away. What about your man? He questioned. What? I never said I had a man, I replied. You said you left Josh for another guy, he asked accusingly. Yes, I did, but not to be with another guy. It was because I had feelings for someone else. It wasn't fair for me to be with Josh when I couldn't stop thinking about the other person. But you see, that other person refused to answer my texts. And then, to make matters worse, he even kissed me and told me it was a mistake, I said. I paused for a moment before looking at him. I was scared to see the expression on his face. As I looked over, he stood up and walked towards the cliffs. He just stood there, still. Finally, I got up the courage and walked towards him. I stood there silently next to him for a few moments before working up the courage to speak. Derek? He remained silent. I turned to walk back over to the bench, both to give him some space and to try to hide the wave of nervousness or defeat. I wasn't sure exactly which. That was rising inside of me. I had no idea what he was thinking. I guess part of me had hoped, had wanted him to be happy. It appeared that wasn't the case. I felt embarrassed, a little foolish even. As I continued walking back towards the bench, I was surprised when he grabbed my arm. Wait, he said. Is that what you were going to tell me when you texted me back then? He asked. I didn't want to talk about the past. I just looked at him. Is it? He asked. I went to pull my arm away from him. No, I'm not going to let you walk away from me that easily this time, he said. I was shocked by his words, his actions. It felt like I had just entered a dream. In that moment, I realized I had never felt that way when I had been with Josh. Well, I guess it's a good thing, because I don't know if I could walk away from you again. I tried to learn from my mistakes, I said with a little half smile. Good, he said. I'm sorry I never got back to you back then. Although it's been a bumpy road, I think everything in the past happened for a reason. It has led us to where we are now, right where we should be. So let's just focus on the future, I said. Tell me about what you did at the hospital. Well, I can tell you that every minute that I will be there, I'll be thinking about you, he answered with a little laugh. But seriously, I have a pretty nice setup right now. When I saw you at the club that night, I was meeting with the director of the hospital. She was preparing to step down to part-time and needed someone to fill in for her on the days she's out. I only have to do it 3 days a week, and then I'm on call 2 days. So you don't have to worry. I'm not going to be too busy, he said with a big smile. Good, I said, thankful for the first time that I had stayed in the sleepy little small town. I know this might be a little forward, and you don't have to answer right now, but I've waited a long time to ask you this. Will you finally be mine? He asked. I didn't want to sound too excited, so I paused for a minute before answering. But before I could respond, he spoke again. It's okay. Just think about it. Knowing very well that there was nothing to think about, I quickly responded, Yes, I would like that very much. His eyes lit up like a child's on Christmas Day. He hugged me so tight that I could barely breathe. Then he kissed me. I felt a deep sense of relief, almost as though I was finally doing what I should have done all along. I turned to face the water, and he wrapped his arms around me. I leaned back against his firm chest and just took in the amazing feeling of being in his arms. He gently leaned his head against mine. I couldn't help but think that it was a shame that I had been missing out on this for so long. Oh, now all I had to do was tell Josh, I closed my eyes and tried to shake that thought. I just wanted to enjoy the moment. We stood there together, just like that, for a long while before he asked, "Do you want to go back to my place? We can get some rest, and I'll take you back to see Josh tomorrow. What do you think?" "That sounds good," I replied. When we got to his truck, he opened the door for me. As we drove back to his place, he asked, "What are you thinking?" I didn't want to answer. I definitely didn't want to say Josh right now. I was thinking of an excuse, of anything to say, just as a song came on the radio. It was a fun song, with a good beat, that told a sweet story. So, in a desperate attempt to nonchalantly change the subject, I began to sing along with the song. He got a big smile and gave a little laugh. "What?" I asked playfully. I was completely shocked when he began to sing along with the male verses. He knew all the words and actually had a really nice voice. When we got to his house, he put out his hand to help me out of the truck and continued to hold it all the way up to the door. When we got there, he stopped for a moment and just looked at me. "What?" I asked. "Last chance to change your mind. Tell me now, because I don't know if I'd be able to handle losing you again," he said. I looked at him and acted as if I was going to walk away. I had just been playing, but when I saw the look on his face, I quickly turned around, wrapped my arms around his neck, and said, "You have nothing to worry about." "I hope not," he said as he unlocked the door. We went in, and he offered me a drink before we sat down on the couch. We told each other our stories of what had transpired in our lives in the time he had been away. He told me how he had dated a little bit, but he never found anyone he felt was worth having a serious relationship with. He also admitted that, through those times, he caught himself comparing the other girls to me. He looked embarrassed when he told me, and I found it absolutely adorable. I told him of the ups and downs of being with Josh, and how it never really felt quite right. I told him how, after all the chaos and confusion had calmed down, I finally realized why I'd chosen Josh over him. How it had been because of fear, not love, that I had made the wrong choice when it came to him and Josh back then. I could see the hurt in his eyes as he listened to what I was saying. It made me feel bad that it still hurt him. I apologized for all the hurt my decisions had caused. He tried to play it off like it wasn't a big deal, but his eyes, they said otherwise. "Well, that's the past, and we have nothing but the future to look forward to," I said, leaning close to him. He smiled and pulled me in. "You're right," he said before kissing my forehead. We talked for quite a while longer before realizing how late it had gotten. "Do you just want to spend the night here, and we can go to the hospital together in the morning?" he asked. "I thought that was the plan," I replied with a smile. "Just making sure. Do you want to borrow a shirt to sleep in?" he continued. "Oh, I actually have clothes here," I said. "What?" he questioned. "Oh, in Jesse's room," he continued, remembering that I used to spend the night here often. We both went upstairs to change. Once changed, I knocked on his bedroom door. He opened it, and I went in. He was only wearing a pair of jogging sweats and no shirt. I tried not to smile too big when I saw that. I couldn't deny that he was close to perfect. I was thankful that another girl hadn't found him. "You want to sleep in here?" he asked. Before I could reply, he continued, "Don't worry, I'll be a perfect gentleman." I smiled. "Okay." I climbed into his bed, and he climbed in after me. He lifted his pillow to fluff it, or so I thought. Before I knew it, I was bumped in the head by his pillow. "Oops, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. What I meant to do was," he said, bumping me again. "Oh, it's on," I said, laughing. "Nope, you're not allowed to do that," he said jokingly as he pinned me down. Just then, we both stopped laughing and just looked into one another's eyes. Our lips touched, and he kissed me. Then he kissed me again. Seemingly out of nowhere, he stopped and laid on his back. Everything okay?" "Nothing. It's stupid." "No, if it's bothering you, it's not stupid." "I just have this feeling that you're going to break my heart," he said. "No, I don't think so. I'm going to be here to make things better whenever things get rough," I replied. With this, a big smile appeared on his face. "Come here," he said as he wrapped his arms around me. I didn't want to move, so I just stayed in his arms. Thoughts raced around in my head for a long time. Finally, his grasp loosened slightly, and I knew he was asleep. It was a while longer before I finally fell asleep. I awoke to him brushing my hair out of my face and kissing my cheek. "I have to go to work now. I made you breakfast. I'll come back and pick you up on my lunch break," he told me. "Thanks, but you didn't have to," I started to say. "Yes, I did. What kind of boyfriend would I be if I didn't at least do that? He said, giving me a little wink. See you in a bit. I went to Jesse's room to try to find some of my clothes to change into and freshen up. When I went downstairs, I couldn't help but smile. He had set breakfast up on the table, with a flower and a cute little note that read, "Can't wait to see that beautiful smile again." It was like something straight out of a movie. I had just finished getting ready when I heard Derek's truck pull up. I had made him lunch to surprise him, and couldn't wait to see the look on his face when he walked in. Well, I ended up being the one surprised when his smile faded. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing. It's perfect. It's just no one has done that for me since," he started to say when he paused. "I know, but that's all going to change," I responded. I knew he was going to say since his mom passed. It kind of made me sad when I thought about it. He hugged me. "Thanks." We sat down and ate together. "Oh yeah, he's awake," he informed me. "That's good news," I replied, not terribly excited. That just meant I was getting closer to having to tell Josh about me and Derek. "Are you going to tell him anything?" "Oh, what do you mean?" I questioned, playing dumb. "You know what I mean. Are you going to tell him anything about me and you?" "What do you think I should tell him?" "Well, that's up to you. But you could say something along the lines of, you now have an amazingly talented and handsome boyfriend that is crazy about you and is never going to give you up," he said jokingly with a smile. I just looked at him, deep in thought. "I was just kidding," he started to say. "Oh, no, that's not it. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm actually going to say. Well, not necessarily what I'm going to say, but rather how I'm going to say it," I explained. We finished eating and cleaning up before heading to the hospital. When we got there, Derek started to walk me to Josh's room. I was surprised that Derek was holding my hand. I'm not sure what I had expected, but this was his workplace, so I guess I had just assumed I wouldn't get any special attention when here. Just then, another doctor, along with a nurse, came up to him. Derek introduced me as his girlfriend. The doctor shook my hand, told me it was a pleasure to meet me, and then looked at me for a second longer before turning to Derek and asking, "Wait, this isn't her, is it?" Derek nodded with a big smile. "Well, congratulations," the doctor said, giving Derek a pat on the back. With that, the doctor and nurse were off again. As we continued to Josh's room, I questioned, "What was that about?" "Just you," he said with a smile. "They're just happy for us." "They're just happy for us," he continued. We stopped in front of a room with the door partway open. I could hear the TV on inside. "Want me to come in with you?" "No, I should do this on my own." "You sure?" "Yeah." "There she is," Josh said loudly. "Hey you, how you feeling?" I asked. "Well, I'm not gonna lie. They got me on some pretty good stuff right now, and seeing your beautiful face is making everything all that much better," he said. Just then, I heard a little noise outside the doorway. I glanced over. I could see the shadow of Derek's shoes outside. At first, I felt a little irritated that he was listening out there. I thought it was invasive, rude. Did he not trust me? But as I thought about it more, I realized that the tables were turned. I probably would have done the same thing. I would have wanted to know how and what was said. "Were you worried?" Josh asked with a mischievous smile. "Of course I was." "Good," he said with a little laugh. "Really, Josh?" I said sarcastically. "Have you thought about us?" he asked. "Oh, well," I started to say. "Hey, relax. Let me just say this while the pain meds in me so I don't feel it," he insisted. "Okay, say what you have to." Just then, I heard Derek being paged on the loudspeaker. I saw his shadow disappear quickly. Josh continued, "I love you so much. I never want to let you go. But I also know that the only way I could ever really have you is if I commit to being just your best friend, nothing more. Can I ask you something?" "Sure," I replied, worried about what he was going to ask now. "Who was the guy that I was never able to get off your mind?" he asked. Part of me didn't want to answer, although I was sure part of him already knew what I was going to say. I knew I had to say it in order to move forward, but I was scared that saying the words to him would sting. Not just him, but me a little too. Finally I said it. "Derek." That's what I figured. No matter how many times he came or went, or what happened, you always looked at him the same way. With that same look in your eyes. A different way than you've ever looked at me, he said. "Josh," I started to say when he cut me off. "No, it's okay. It's nobody's fault. Come here." he said. I leaned closer to the bed. He put his hands on my cheeks and looked me in the eyes. If he's who you choose, I support you, both of you. But no matter what, I will always be here for you, he said as he pulled me closer. I was completely shocked when he kissed me. I hadn't expected it, but I knew it was harmless. It was just his way of saying goodbye. I spun around when I heard a noise behind me. I turned just in time to see Derek looking at me with his mouth open. The hurt on his face was the worst. He turned and hurried out of the room. Josh looked at me and then yelled at the top of his lungs, "You won! She loves you!" "Josh," I said almost scoldingly. "What? It's true. Go after him. I'll explain to him that it was nothing if you want me to. Go get him." I felt emotions swirling around inside of me. I just wanted to run and hide, but I knew I had to deal with this now. I hurried out to the hall to see Derek turning the corner. I hurried after him. He went out of the hospital. I finally caught up with him in the parking lot. "Derek, wait!" I said, half in panic. He turned and leaned against the wall of the parking garage. He didn't look at me. "Look, it's not what it looked like," I tried to explain. "Did you tell him about us?" Derek questioned. "Well, sort of," I started to say when he cut me off. "That means no. Do you have any idea how that felt?" he asked, looking down at the ground. "Look, he knows it's you. It's always been you. That's what I had told him when he told me that he already knew, and that he would always be my best friend," I was saying when he cut me off again. "Then what was that?" "I know it's going to sound silly, but I think it was his way of saying goodbye," I said. I stepped closer to him. I wanted to look him in the eyes so he knew that I was telling the truth, but I couldn't get him to look at me. "Derek, please go back in with me to Josh's room. Let's get this all out on the table once and for all," I said, almost pleading with him. "I can't," he said. "Derek," I started to say, then stopped when he continued. "I can't right now. I just need a minute. Although that may have felt like nothing to you, you have no idea how it felt when I saw that," he said, still avoiding looking me in the eye. I don't know what I was thinking, or if I was thinking at all in that moment, but almost instinctively, I reached up and hugged him. I hugged him tightly. It was a moment before he hugged me back. When he did, he held on tight for a long while. Then he whispered in my ear, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have acted like that. See what you do to me? I'm not a jealous guy. Never have been. But here you have me acting like a jealous teenager." "Well, at least I know you care," I said, giving him a little squeeze. "Huh, yeah, I definitely do care. Maybe a little too much," he replied. "No such thing as too much," I reassured him. I waited for a minute before taking his chin in my hand and gently turning his face towards mine. I looked him in the eye and said, "I choose you. I really do. So you don't need to question that ever again, okay?" He looked me dead in the eye. "Okay," he said with a little smile. "Come on, let's go," I said, giving his arm a little tug. "Okay, let's get this over with." We walked back into the hospital hand in hand. We paused outside the doorway, and I entered first. I was a little surprised when Derek wasn't right behind me. Then, I heard his voice in the hall speaking to another doctor. "So what happened?" Josh asked anxiously. "I don't know. I think he might need to hear it from you too, if that's okay. I mean, I did choose you over him once before. I think he might be worried that could happen again," I said. "No, you didn't. You never really chose me anyway. But yeah, I have no problem telling him that," Josh was saying as Derek walked in. "Hey, how you feeling?" Derek asked. "Pretty good right now," Josh replied. I was shocked when Josh looked at me and said, "Do you mind if we have a minute?" Okay, I'll be right outside," I said, stunned. I strained to try to hear what they were saying, yet couldn't quite make out the words. Close to 10 minutes went by before Derek came out. He didn't say anything at first. Instead, he just hugged me and kissed me on the forehead. "So, is everything okay?" I asked. He smiled and kissed me on the lips. "Yep." And with that, he walked away down the hall. Dying of curiosity, I went back into Josh's room. "Well, what happened? What did you say?" I questioned. "The truth." "What's that supposed to mean?" I questioned again. "I just told him that I'll always love you. I plan to be in your life, as your friend, and although it felt like it then, there was never a competition. Not really, anyway. He was the one that you were supposed to be with all along," he replied. I was speechless. Josh really was my best friend. I knew that saying that had to hurt, but he still did it for me. "Thank you," I said, giving him a hug. The next day, Derek and I brought Josh home from the hospital. It was just as it had happened in the past, Only this time, it felt a little awkward, now that I was with Derek and not Josh. I wondered if they felt a little funny too. We got him situated, and I ordered his favorite pizza. I can't help thinking about the way things went down all that time ago. Every time I blinked, I saw myself back then hugging Josh and trying to make things better for him. Then when I would blink again, I'd remember the way Derek had showed up, kissed me, and how perfect it was. And then, how I let him walk away. It had been an impossible situation. No matter what I would have done, someone would have gotten hurt. And that was my weakness. I couldn't take hurting people. The people that were closest to me anyway. I saw Derek looking at me from where he was standing out on the deck with Josh. I realized I probably had a deepened thought, the sort of look on my face. He came in and placed a hand on the small of my back, while Josh stayed outside. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing. Just thinking about the past." "Mm-hmm. I'm sorry for the way everything happened. I never wanted to hurt you." "I know. But we're going to keep looking forward and not back, remember?" he replied with a little smile. "Yep. Are you almost ready to go?" "Yeah. Let's just see if he needs anything before we head out, okay?" he replied. Josh said he was good, and he'd talk to us later. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and eventually into years. We all remained very close. Even had a game night once a week. I loved how you could hear the laughter from blocks away. Well, that was with the exception of when Jesse would randomly pop into town. It was only at those times that drama would arise. It was never anything in particular, just Jesse being Jesse. Eventually Derek and I got married and had children of our own. We remained here, in Derek's childhood home, which, for us, was full of rich memories. Josh also got married, to a nurse who worked at the hospital with Derek. It was funny how our children referred to Josh as Uncle Josh, and to Jesse simply as Jesse. We probably should have corrected it at some point, but just couldn't bring ourselves to do so, as it sort of seemed suiting. I often think back to how this all started and laugh. It still amazes me that it took all of what had happened back then to get us to where we are now. But you know, I wouldn't change a thing.